Thanks, Ariella. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the weekly Pre-Shabbat AGJC Zoom call. Each week, we gather together, the Jewish communities of all 6 GCC countries and our families and friends from around the world, to hear an inspirational message before Shabbat, light candles, hear Dvar Torah, pray, and read a section from the weekly Torah portion. Today, we are excited to have Rachel Rosenzweig, sorry if I didn't pronounce your name right, co-founder and CEO of FemForward, who will discuss the recent launch of FemForward's MENA cohort. The Association of Gulf Jewish Communities is the umbrella organization for the Jewish communities of the GCC countries that are building and enhancing Jewish life in the region. While each community is independent, we share a common goal and vision for Jewish life to flourish in the Gulf for the benefit of both residents and visitors. To stay updated on AGJC events, please follow us on Twitter at Gulf Jewish and visit our website, www.gulfjewish.org. And from here, we will go to Sami Barak, who will be lighting the Shabbat candles today.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Before I light, I'd just like to say, you don't normally see me on the screen, but I usually hear all the beautiful songs, and I always feel that it fills our home as in Isaac and my home, with a lot of love and warmth, which I thank you for. And I'd just like to say with this portion of the Torah, Shalach, which we're going to be talking about today, it always reminds me about the spies who came and said very negative things about Israel. And it just reminds me that it's okay to say negative things about our own country, but at the same time that we can think about also trying to make changes. And I'd just like to end with one little thing that, especially here in Israel now, which is very, very special, is that you see a lot of beautiful petals falling from the trees, especially the jacaranda tree, which is purple. And then you see a lovely carpet of flowers and lots of other beautiful colors. And also there's the mulberry tree, lots of beautiful sweet fruits that fall. And it reminds me that this is the time after Shavuot, which is the time where it is represented as God being, you know, we have a marriage with God, and it's a beautiful way that I believe that God is wooing us. So we'll start with lighting, and I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת קודש.
Amen. Amen. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Simon. I see Isaac's already taken his position. Isaac, over to you.
ידיד נפש הרחמן משוך עבדך אל רצונך ירוץ עבדך כמו היער ישתחווה מול עדרך כי ירב לו ידידותך מנופת צוף וכל טעם הדור נאה זיף העולם נפשי כל עד אהבתך הנאל נערפה נעלה בהרות לנו המזיבח אז תתחזק ותתרפא והייתה לך שמחת עולם ותקיימו רחמך וחוסנה על בן אהובך כי זה כמה נחשוף לראות בתפארת וזך אנא אלי מחמד ליבי חוסנה ואל תתעלם יגאלנה ופרוס חביב עלי את סוכת שלומך תאיר ארץ מכבודך נגילה ונשמחה בה, מהר אהוב כי בא מועד, וכונני כי מעולם.
Thank you, Isaac. And over to Alex for Lecha Dodi.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך אפיך, אהב לך שבט בימי הבכר, יהיו יחמול עלייך חמלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי על יד איש. בין פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Thanks, Alex. And now over to Fleur, who will be introducing our speaker today, Rachel.
Thank you, everyone. Huda, thank you so much for the hosting, Ariella, and always the beautiful melodies of Isaac that remind me of home, and of Alex, which are just incredible. So it is my great honor to introduce who I consider a close friend, a colleague, and I hope she sees me as a little bit of an older sister / mentor. Rachel Wagner Rosenzweig is a woman who is first and foremost a Jerusalemite immigrant like me. Myself and Isaac Hassan were very involved many years ago in creating the innovation ecosystem in Jerusalem when we were told that it was impossible to do so. Rachel was one of the founders of that ecosystem in her work with Made in Jerusalem, which is an organization that was created in order to develop the Jerusalem innovation ecosystem. And Rachel was always a champion of minorities and especially of women and women in tech. A few years ago, she came to me with an amazing idea of taking the ecosystem in Jerusalem forward to the next level. and to try and create some type of women's network so that we could advance each other, so that we could do the best we could in propelling women to senior management roles. And I thought it was an incredible idea. And I said, how can I help? So we sat down in a room, Rachel and I and two other very powerful, talented women. And we broke our heads to see how we could, what we could do. And we came up with a program that Rachel's going to talk about, Femme Forward. And it's a program essentially closing the wage gap, closing the management gap between men and women. But what I love about Rachel is that she's fearless. She will set herself a task and she will break through walls in order to get to that task. And I think that in the last few weeks, we've seen in all the different parashot Shavua, Sami spoke about Shelach Lecha, but we've been seeing essentially the challenges of leadership. First of all, with people complaining to Moses that they were bored of the food. You know, that's not a Jewish thing at all. Then this week, we have the spies and the challenge of the spies. And I heard a wonderful Divar Torah a couple of months ago. Why was the sin of the spies considered worse than the sin of the golden calf? Why is it that people going and giving bad reports is worse than actually idolizing an idol? And the answer that I received was because the sin of the spies talks about the lack of faith and the lack of determination and the lack of belief. And so all I can say, I think the most important thing that I want to say about Rachel is that she has a lot of faith and determination to get things done. And I'm privileged and I'm thrilled to see how she's pushing forward for the city of Jerusalem and now for the region and for the Abraham Accords. So without any further ado, I pass on to my wonderful friend, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Fleur. That was a really amazing introduction, and I'm really honored to work with you too. Fleur is definitely my mentor, and it made me laugh that she said I was fearless, because I got that from you, because you are definitely fearless. So thank you so much, Fleur. And I'd like to thank everyone today who's organized this, Ariella, Fleur, Isaac, and the whole team. It's a really wonderful initiative, and I'm really honored to be speaking here and humbled. So thank you so much. And I'm just going to share my screen. So just give me 1 second, because I've got a short presentation to kind of show you what we're doing and the scope of it. So 1 second, share screen. And I'll speak a bit slower because sometimes my Manchester accent gets in the way. So yeah, 1 second. Okay, can everyone see the presentation? Okay, perfect. So hi, thank you so much for having me. Today I'm going to speak about this wonderful program that I co-founded with Fleur, and we have the program director here today, Ruth, who will be speaking about the parasha too. I'm just going to put my timer on so that I don't go over the time. So just a bit about me. My name is Rachel. I'm originally from Manchester in England. I came to Israel when I was 18. I've had the most incredible now 15 years of living here. I studied at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and I really wanted to give back and help the economy of the city of Jerusalem. And that's why I joined the organization that Fleur spoke about, which is Made in JLM. We're a nonprofit that basically helps build specifically the Jerusalem tech ecosystem. And within Made in JLM, I ran the biggest monthly tech networking event. I co-founded the CTO Club, which was a club for chief technology officers within the city. And I also ran the, you can see there the logos, Jerusalem, which was the official community for AI and data science in the city. And the last thing that I did was actually run tech tours for groups from all over the world to show them not just the history and the politics and the conflict within the city, but also the innovation and the startups. Within all that, I noticed that there was a small issue, small, big, And that is that I was mainly with groups of me around the table with just men, and a lot of the senior positions were males. And I felt like there was a big gap where the women could be advancing to senior positions and they weren't. And so I saw this problem. And that's when we sat around the table and we said, me and a few group of women from Jerusalem, and we said, what can we do about this? So we created the official Women in Tech community of Jerusalem, which was called FemJLM. We did a big event. You can see Fleur speaking on the right, if the pictures aren't blocking it. We had loads of women come from all over the city, and there was a huge need for women to connect and help one another advance in their careers. Now, as part of this initiative, we brought women from all over the world to speak with the American Embassy. For example, this is Aisha Bowe. She worked at NASA. We also highlighted women with the weekly FemStar to show the incredible women in innovation in the city. And we also created a leaders forum where women who were leaders came and discussed the ideas and helped one another advance in their careers too. However, I personally felt during this period that I wasn't doing enough, and that there was no tangible impact with yet another Women in Tech community, which is really important. But we felt like we couldn't see any results coming from it where women were actually progressing and there was, statistics to be shown. So we sat around the table, myself, Fleur, and our co-founder, Mirava Tuna Miri, and we looked at the biggest women in the workplace survey that's done every year by McKinsey & Company. And what it's been showing for the past 8 years is the same problem, the biggest problem actually in women's careers. It's called the broken rung. And this is where women are not progressing at the same rate as men. They're progressing much slower from junior positions to their first job as a manager. And the problem is that when women are not progressing into first level management, that means that there's less women in the pipeline to become leaders, and then there's less women to promote the most senior positions. This problem is global, and in Israel, it's extremely prevalent too. If you look at the number of chief technology officers, the females are less than 5%. If you look at CEOs in Israel, female CEOs, it's around 10%. The numbers are really low, and it starts at the bottom. And this is something that not many people were talking about or even are talking about now. And that's why we created what is Fem Forward. So this is a program for women in junior positions in tech to help them progress into first level management and be in the pipeline to be senior leaders. So we started our first cohort in Jerusalem right in the middle of COVID, October 2020. It was a 3-month program, weekly workshops where the women learned how to negotiate, how to be in an interview, how to become a manager, how to be a good manager. And also every woman received a woman who is a senior executive in high tech herself. Actually, the program has had incredible success, showing us that there was a really, really big need for it. You can see here we've had 4 cohorts already, over 100 graduates, and actually the success rate, what we base the success on at the moment, is salary raises and job promotions. And actually, on average, 50% of the women after the 3-month program have been promoted in one of these ways, which is huge, and again, showing the need. All the mentors are C-level directors, women who are very senior in tech, and again, showing the need because they always say yes, which means these women, the mentors, are not being used enough to help other women. So last year, we were very privileged to receive a grant from the American Embassy, and in partnership with the UAE Israel Business Council, we are bringing this incredible program to the Abraham Accords countries. These are our partners, you can see at the bottom. And the first cohort, we actually just started now in Casablanca with women from Morocco and Israel. And we here have the same goal of fixing the broken rung, having women advance in their careers. But we also are having cross-cultural mentorship, whereby the women, for example, the Moroccan women will receive an Israeli mentor. So this is incredible, and an opportunity that the women would not have received if it wasn't for this program. Obviously, the women are creating business connections as well across borders. And these women are now in the pipeline to be future leaders of the Middle East and Northern Africa. And for us, one of the most important things is the friendship across borders. Again, something that just wouldn't have happened. We were just in Casablanca. None of the Israeli women had been to Morocco before, and none of the Moroccans had been to Israel before. And they are, please God, coming here at the end of July for a 3-day in-person seminar. Just to show you some of the participants, because I can speak as much of that as I want, but really it's all about the women and their progression and their friendships created. For example, I just read you one of the testimonials from one of the participants from Morocco, Sophia. She said, "It's incredibly exciting to be part of the first cohort bringing together women from Morocco and Israel. It is also a first for many of us to connect with female role models as teachers and mentors. I strongly believe a brighter future is ahead of us, thanks to Fem Forward." And I can also send you the presentation after if you're interested in hearing and seeing more about these incredible women and how they're finding the program. Actually, one of the highlights of our time in Casablanca was that we did some cultural dancing together, Israeli music and Moroccan music. I don't know if this is actually going to work. Well, I can send you the video after if you're interested, because it will make it too long. But yeah, it was incredible, and we really shared the cultures. And another highlight for this program for us is that some of the women traveled before and after together. We have women from Druze background, ultra-Orthodox, secular, Muslim women, and they traveled the country together in Morocco, not within the program guidelines. So that was something that we found really incredible. And again, an opportunity that is not given to women every day from these countries. So I'd like to say thank you so much for inviting me. This is my email, rachel@femforward.org, and this is our website. If you're interested in learning more, collaborating with us, helping us, I'd really, really love to speak to you. This is a really important program that's really making a difference in the Middle East and Northern Africa. And I invite you to come on this incredible journey with us. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I think we have a minute or two if there are any questions, but I guess just kind of add in, there are many programs that do amazing things, but I've had the privilege of meeting some of the women who are part of this last cohort, and everybody walked away really inspired. And I think it speaks to the vision and the goal of the Abraham Accords, which was to create a Middle East built on peace and prosperity for its people. And what better way than to help promote women in the workforce in order to mentor them and train them up. So thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us.
I'd just like to give one, can I just say one more thing that I didn't say, because it was on the screen, but I didn't say it. So obviously this program is for the Abraham Accords countries, and we plan to, please God, do our next cohort starting in Bahrain, and then hopefully the UAE, and we'll keep going with 2 cohorts a year. So yeah, that's something that I just wanted to add that's important. So thank you.
Excellent. Well, now, guys, you all are privy to some breaking news. I know we've talked about this on the professional side, thinking of starting off in Bahrain, but this is really quite exciting. And again, similar to Morocco, a really wonderful market to kind of kick it off in. So thank you so much, Rachel. I hope you'll get a chance to take a look at the comments, just because, again, really people seem quite inspired. And now we will move over to Rabbi Schoenfeld, who's going to share a few words of Divrei Torah with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Rachel, for that incredible presentation. A quick sideline. So I am the CEO Emerita of the International Rabbinical Assembly, one of the first women rabbis to, and actually one of the women in Judaism who was one of the few CEOs of a non-women's organization serving at those tables. And in 2004, I initiated the first study of the same question that Fem Forward addresses, which is, why were women not advancing in the rabbinate in the same way as their male colleagues? And one thing that we also discovered is that the sort of social milieu of women having more expectations on them in terms of child rearing and elder care also affected them, as well as the issues of mentorship. So I will definitely look forward to following up with you. I enjoyed your presentation tremendously. And it is, of course, the perfect subject matter for today. I think I am now the third Devar Torah on the spies and on Shlach Lecha. And because, our Torah is so abundant, there's even yet another and probably many more nuances to this very, very evocative story that we read today. And that is because the story of the spies captures eloquently the human dynamic that we recognize as familiar and consequential, namely the loss of confidence of people who face a big challenge, in this case, the challenge to enter the land, and the challenge that the Israelites face following the report of the spies focusing on their interpretation of what they saw. And of course, what makes the story so compelling is that the spies and the Israelites not only saw a land overflowing with milk and honey, but they personally lived through and experienced these unbelievable miracles that God brought for them, right? They saw God overwhelm the most powerful army in the world, the Egyptian army, the one that they were released from slavery at the time. So what do we make of this? Well, one thing that is very interesting narratively is that in scouting the land, the spies saw both risk and reward. And what is interesting is from the point of view of the reader, we hear about these possible antagonists, these other tribes that will sort of bully, if you will, the Israelites and make it impossible for them to inhabit the land. But we visually see this cluster of grapes, this almost freakishly large cluster of grapes that is so big that it has to be carried by two people and could feed the whole community. And in fact, as we know, the Ministry of Tourism adopts this image of the spies carrying this immense symbol of plenty as the image that symbolizes that here in modern times, we are, if you will, one with the program, right? We really believe that together we can do this. So the contrast we want to ask ourselves about is, why is it that having seen all these miracles, the spies and subsequently the people cannot align themselves with the miracles and continue to align themselves with the doubt? And in the language of the narrative, this is a matter of a moral failing, right? They don't believe in God. They are insolent. They challenge what God is telling them, or it's a failing in terms of their faith. But in contemporary times, we have, thanks to, and here it's again relevant to the theme of tech that we're talking about today, thanks to brain imaging, we know that people who have either through a difficult experience that they were habituated to, or even more likely traumatic experience, that those experiences have reshaped actually their brains. And so when we envision, like, almost if you see this, kind of filmic expanse of the desert and the ripples of wind-blown sort of beige gray sand, right? Instead of seeing the Israelites traversing that kind of physical terrain, we can imagine them traversing a terrain that actually looks quite similar. And that is the ridges within our own brains, which are shaped by our thoughts and our experiences. And while on the one hand, the story would seem to end with God saying that the generation of the people who had these traumatic experiences and these habituated experiences to being disempowered and enslaved cannot inhabit the land, nor even possibly will their immediate generation of children, that is actually not where the Torah leaves the story. Because the Torah and the Tanakh and everything about our tradition that comes after that brings us the mitzvot. It brings us a way of life that, to my mind, remarkably mirrors the best of what we know about cognitive interventions and cognitive therapies. So we see the experience of the spies and the Israelites, which mirror what we know about cognitive brain psychology, that we have a pattern of three things that keep going in a cycle. We have feelings, we have thoughts, and then we have actions that are taken based on those thoughts. There is fear, and then there's the thought that they can't do it. And then as a consequence, they end up not doing it. And then from that diminished position, the cycle starts again. But what we know about the best so far of cognitive therapy is that the way you treat people who have suffered with these kinds of traumas cognitively is to help them by replacing these thoughts and actions with support, communal support for different kinds of thoughts and actions. And the mitzvot, the Jewish way of life, is all about filling our day with thoughts and actions that very much resemble the best of cognitive treatments. Gratitude, actions that point us in direction of being with other people, of working with the community. These mitzvot that we have, lighting candles for Shabbat, saying the blessing over the wine, blessing our children, expressing our gratitude in our prayers, are symbolized in the very best that technology and its knowledge of brain imaging and that human society have brought forth to date. So we are all a part of this experience of releasing ourselves still from that experience of disempowerment and slavery and moving forward with bold thoughts and actions that we know we can't do ourselves. We do it in the way Femme Forward does it. We do it together with other people, and we do it together every week as we prepare to celebrate Shabbat. And I'm feel so privileged to have been a part of our session today. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Schoenfeld. It's always a joy to have you with us, and we always appreciate the words of Divrei Torah and inspiration that you share with us before we head into Shabbat. And now we'll head over to Alex, who's going to read a portion from this week's Parsha.
דבר אדוני אל משה ולאהרון לאמור עד מתי לעדה הזאת אשר מלינים עלי עם תלונות בני ישראל אשר מלינים עלי שמעתי אמור עליהם חי אני נאום אדוני אם לא כאשר דיברתם באוזני כן אעשה לכם במדבר הזה יפלו פגריכם וכל פקודיכם לכל מספרכם מבין 20 שנה ומעלה אשר הלינותם עלי ואם אתם תבואו אל הארץ אשר נשאתי את ידי לשכן אתכם בה כי אם כלב בן יפונה וישוע בן נון ותפכם אשר אמרתם לבז יהיה והבאתי אותם וידעו את הארץ אשר מאסתם בה ופגריכם אתם יפלו במדבר הזה ובניכם יהיו רועים במדבר 40 שנה ונשאו את זנותיכם עד תום פגריכם במדבר.
Thank you so much, Alex. And now we'll head over to Ruth, who's going to read the English translation of what Alex just read.
Hi, everyone. The Lord spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, "How much longer would this evil congregation who are causing to complain against me, the complaints of the children of Israel, which they caused them to complain against me, I have heard. Say to them, as I live, say the Lord, if not as you have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. In this desert, your corpses shall fall, your entire number, all those from the age of 20 and up who were counted, because you complained against me. You shall come into the land concerning which I raised my hand that you would settle in it, except Caleb ben Yefuneh and Yoshua ben Nun. As for your children, of whom you said that they will be as spoils, I will bring them, and they will come to know the land which you despise. But as for you, your corpses shall fall in the desert. Your children shall wander in the desert for 40 years and bear your defection until the last of your corpses has fallen in the desert. According to the number of days which you toured the land, 40 days, a day for each year, you will thus bear the inequalities for 40 years. Thus you will come to know my alignment.
Thank you so much, Ruth. And now I will read the prayer for the GCC. May he who gives salvation to kings and dominion to princes, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, who delivers his servant David from the evil sword, who makes a way in the sea and a path through the mighty waters, bless and protect, guard and help, exalt, magnify, and uplift. His Majesty, the King of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, the King of Bahrain, His Majesty, the Sultan of Oman, His Highness, the President of the UAE, His Highness, the Emir of Kuwait, His Highness, the Emir of Qatar, and all of their crown princes. And may the Supreme King of Kings in his mercy put a spirit of wisdom and understanding into their hearts and the hearts of all their counselors and officials to deal kindly with us, the house of Jacob, and all the people of this land. Be their shelter and stronghold, and let them not falter in their days and in hours. May these lands be blessed with stability, prosperity, and peace. May this be his will, and let us say, Amen. And now, before we head over to Isaac, just a gentle reminder to please join us, same time, same place, and same Zoom link next Friday for another wonderful program. And thank you again to Rachel for joining us. And now over to you, Isaac.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Barkuni Leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedechem Leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom.